Hey guys, and welcome back. And today we'll be talking about the problems of the T14. So since basically all the basic issues have been done to death, I thought I'd touch on the systemic problems. Because let's be real, stuff like the engine and that can be fixed. Eventually you can come up with a new system, you can make something new that works and fits the vehicle. And that's the big thing you gotta understand, okay? Is that at the end of the day, if you put enough investments into something, and if you care enough, you can make something work. And, I mean, let's look at the Abrams or the F-35. Very expensive, has lots and lots of teething issues, but they're some of the best aircraft in the world. Now, I personally don't believe the T-14 is going to be the best tank in the world, even if everything the Russians say about it is true. Because basically it means they've caught up with our last generation or current generation of tanks. However, I do believe it is a step forwards for Russia, as it's a brand new tank, something they haven't had for a very long time, since they've just basically been redesigning their previous few tanks over and over, claiming that's a new system. So, with this out of the way, what are the points I'm going to be making? Well, I'll first be talking about the over-reliance upon Western parts, the some design flaws that you can't change these, and a couple of other arguments too. So, let's start with the first bit. Over-reliance upon Western parts. Yeah, I don't think anyone really thought this through when they talk about the T-14, do they? It's the Russia's supposed wonder tank designed to kill the West, but it's reliant upon many Western parts. Take, for example, the optic system. That's actually a third-generation French part that is probably unavailable in Russia right now. Although it's also, ironically, behind the stuff available in the commercial markets. I mean, some problems here. But we'll move on and we'll ignore that aspect. The big thing is that the T-14 has this real need for Western pieces of equipment, because Russia doesn't have the microchip industry, doesn't have the production capacity of high-level technologies to produce such systems. To be able to get these new modern systems, either have to go off China, which is, the wish.com memes are enough, and, seriously, not all of them are wrong, or they have to get it from third parties here in the West. This is the big problem for Russia. They need these parts, they need these bits of technology for their tanks to be competitive. But the big problem for them is that at the end of the day, it's really, really expensive, and it's placed them in a really bad situation. It means that basically, since war in Ukraine started, now we've put all these sanctions on them, suddenly they can't produce their tanks as well as they used to, or as many tanks as they used to. Like, that's saying something, given the fact that literally no T-14s are being produced. Like, that they're being produced at maybe 2 or 3 a month. That's the rate they're being produced at. But we'll talk about that later. And you see, this is the huge issue. It's that at the end of the day, this over-reliance upon Western parts means that any sanctions we put on them will cause even more damage to Russia and harm their ability to produce the tank by tenfold. You think having your manufacturing plants taken out is bad? Well, imagine not being able to bring in the parts of the vehicle that you actually need. Now we come to design features. So the positioning of the commander, for example, is unproven, and it's not known if there's a tactical advantage to having them there. But I actually think what is more interesting to me, personally, is the Victory Day parade. The famous one where the T-14 broke down. Now, according to Russia, it didn't break down. It actually had an issue with the brakes, where the guy somehow triggered them. To which I have to say, that's even worse. Okay? That's even worse. Because the thing is, if you're having issues with your braking system, and your system just automatically triggers whenever, that's going to be 10 times worse than an engine breakdown. You see, an engine breakdown, you can improve the engine. You can build it up. You can make it better. If you're able to trigger the braking system by accident, when you're just cruising along a road at a grand total of 10 kilometers an hour, under no fire, under no stress or anything, all you got to do is sit in a little tin can that's supposedly air conditioned. It isn't, and just kick back and relax and drive in a straight line. Like, I can do this. I'm on my L's, guys. I can drive better than I can drive like that too. So the thing is, if you can trigger it when you're in a completely non-stressful situation, imagine what would possibly happen if, I don't know, hypothetically, you're in a very high stress situation, such as a combat area. Um, yeah, have fun with that one. I was going to, and you'd be slightly less screwed, and particularly against American Javelin missiles and all the other stuff that they're trying to bring out. You'd be slightly less screwed than that skinny white girl between those four black guys. Just saying. And the Americans will be laughing to find you just vulnerable and sitting here just like, hey guys, yeah, do you mind if we can just call in some tow trucks whilst we're under fire? That's not going to happen. And if it can be that easily triggered, it's going to create so many issues that at the end of the day, it's not going to be fun. But anyway, moving on, because we got more points to discuss, such as the lack of production, which is the biggest failing of this entire vehicle. Yes, that's right. You see, the T14 doesn't actually have many production models. Supposedly, there's about 50 in existence, according to Russian state propaganda and Russian propagandists. So, if you divide that by about 100, you'd probably get an idea of how many there really are. But to be serious, though, we don't actually know how many there are. We only got claims. We only got them going, oh, yes, this is how many we got. But for context, just so everyone knows, they have less T14s in existence than Australia has M1 Abrams. Yeah. It's not looking too good, is it? Like, when Australia has more tanks than you, there's something wrong. Right? And this is the big thing we've got to understand about T14. It's incredibly expensive and it's a first-time joint venture. It's the first time Russia's ever really tried to redesign the wheel. That's what they've done with this vehicle. Try to create a multi-role, multi-purpose platform upon which they can base all their equipment. But the little issue that no one really understands is that at the end of the day, the T14 is completely new. They're not used to dealing with that. All the other assets, take for example the T90s, they're just a redesigned version of the T80, which is a redesigned version of the T72, which is a redesigned of the T62, which is a redesigned of the T55. They're all the similar type of tank. They use very similar or the exact same chassis. They use very similar technologies, very similar parts and systems. This is why a lot of them are very vulnerable in the modern day, because Russian engineers went, we want a tank that's good enough, not better than. And that's where the T14 comes in. It's this concept of producing a tank that's better than, but they don't have the parts to manufacture, and they don't have the indigenous ability or the industrial capacity to produce said vehicles. And that's the huge problem. It's that the T14 is a failure because of all these reasons compounded. You see, these are things that can't be shrugged off overnight. These are things that can't just be dealt with. The cost of this vehicle actually made the company that initially made them go broke. That's the reality of it. It's super expensive and it's super hard to maintain. And there's all these numerous different issues that face the T14. And that's why the T14 sucks. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you very much. Bye.